Hello everyone. This video is to show you and I or everyone how to find the mean of a grouped data using pivot tables. This data that I have here is not actually grouped at the moment, so we are going to group this data using pivot table, and after that we will find the mean of the data here. So let's start by grouping the data. What I'm going to do is to just click inside to click inside the data here and go to insert. Once at insert, I've got a recommended pivot tables, but I'm not going to use that. That can also be used. I'm just going to use the pivot table icon here. I'll click on the icon, and then it's asking me that if I want the table to be on the next worksheet, and I would say no, I want it to be on this particular worksheet. So I'll select this one here and then click here and click somewhere here. It's okay for me, and I would say okay. So now my table is going to be here, and I've got this data, the heading of the data, that is tensile strength. I've got it here. So I'll just click on it and drag and drop it under the rows here. Go for it again, drag it and under the values here. So if you look at it, if you look at the table here, what has happened here is that it's giving us the sum of the values of the tables, which is 507.95. But I'm not interested in the sum. I'm not interested in the total of the values here, as it's done the grand total here. What I'm interested in is the count on this, under this column here. So I will come here where it says value. You see the drop down arrow, just click on it and click on value field settings. Now you see the count here, select the count and click OK. So this has done it for me. It's counted it, and the data points are 15. I've got 15 data points here, or 15 members in the set. Now I'm going to group these members here. I'm going to group them. So what I'm going to do is I'll just right click inside this and select group. Now it's done the grouping by a spacing of 1, or let me say a class, what is it called, a class width of 1, but I would probably like to change this from 5 to, let's say, 5.1 to 0, and then maybe I'll probably increase this one to 0.65, and I would say okay. So it's done the grouping for me, and if you like, you can change the headings here to your what is it called, to your for example, to any heading you want. So what I'm going to do is I will copy this. I'll select them and copy it and paste it somewhere here, and just give my own heading here. Here I can probably give it, I would type in here tensile strength, and this side is the frequency here. But what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to cut this frequency and take it slightly apart, or slightly away from here, and probably I will put it somewhere here for now. and here I'm going to copy this same data here and paste it here, and I will put upper class boundary, lower class boundary here, LCB, and I will type upper class boundary here. What I'm going to do with this data is that I want to have my upper class boundary here and lower class boundary here, and I just don't want to type them. It's going to take me time. So what I'm going to do is that as I've selected it, I'm going to go to data. I'm going to click on the tab here called data, and under the data tools you can see text to columns. So click on the text to columns, and the limited is selected. If the limited is not selected, please select that and click next. It's got delimit here. Whichever you want, you have to select it, but actually I don't need any of this. So what I need is order, and I will just click in the order, and my cursor drops into this box. Press the minus key or the hyphen key on your computer and separate the data here. As you can see, you can click finish or you can click next and finish, and it's done. You see I've got the lower boundary here and upper boundary here. It's done the separation for me coolly. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the average here, or the midpoint of the two data, the midpoint of the lower and upper class boundaries here. So I've got my midpoint there. Now the midpoint should be the average between the lower and upper class boundaries. So equal to, and then I will type average, and I will select them to data here. Now I have to copy, I have to write the same, I have to do the same for this, do the same for that, but I'm going to copy this formula down by bringing my cursor and double clicking it like that, and it fills it for me. Now I have to get my, I'm cutting and pasting my frequency here, because I need to get the frequency times the midpoint so that I can get the total sum, of the data points here, or these members here. I want to get a total number here, but you can see within each range, for example 24.5 to 25.5, I have what is it called, I have 1, and then 35 to 33.5 to 34.5, I have 5 members here. So what it means is that within these ranges I've got 9 sets of members here, which I have to add them up to the, I have got 5 sets of members in this range here, which I have to add them to get the total sum of those 5 sets of members there. But to do that, adding them is tedious. So what you have to do is to multiply this by the midpoint, and this is the reason why I found the midpoint. So I wouldn't know whether to multiply my frequency by that, because you've got 2 set of data, the 33.5 to 34.5. So which one do you have to find? Sorry, which one do you have to multiply by your frequency? And this is the reason why you find the midpoint, so that the midpoint represents these 2 data here. Okay, so I'm going to put something here called fx. That means here, let me change something here. I'll put x there. The midpoint is called x. That's what I've said for now. So that fx here means the frequency here times the midpoint. So my first one is going to be equal to this one here times the frequency, the number of times that data occurred, that's 1. And I have to do the same thing. I have to do the same thing for This I have to multiply this by that, but it's tedious and long to do. So I'm going to step into this, bring my cursor here. As it changes to that cross, I'll double click there and it fills it for me. So it's done the filling for me. What I'm going to do next is to do my summing here. There is this gap which I don't want it, so I have to delete it. So I'm going to sum up my frequency, get the total frequency, and then get the total of all the data sets here for all that here. So if I sum up everything here, it will be equal to everything here. Okay, or approximately equal to everything here. Now let me just type total here, and then click here and type equal to, and then I'll type sum. I will double click this to select and select all the data here, press enter, and it gives me that. And I have to do the same thing. I have to sum up everything here, so I have to write the same equation, but I'm going to copy this down so that it will do the summing for me. It's done the summing for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shade that one, make it bold so that we can see the difference. Now what we have to look for is our mean. I will type the mean here, and the mean is, let me just the mean is the sum of all that divided by the frequency, which is what, 15. But what is representing the sum of all that is what I've got here, the 510, approximately 510. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to divide this data here by the frequency there, by the frequency. Let me give a good color, by the frequency. So our mean is going to be equal to the sum of the fx divided by the total frequency here, and the mean is 34. So that is our mean, and this is how we can, you know, use Excel and what is it called, pivot rows to find mean of a set of data. Thank you very much for watching, and keep expecting the part 2.